I talked about Aphantasia. I've been thinking about how to like approach this. I don't know if this is gonna make a good video to show later, but I can talk about the processes I developed to kind of get there, to get to a point where I've improved it a bit. But the reality is that it's just not a very fun process. Um, I've shown it to other people. I've had other people try it out. They say it works. It's just kind of a boring process, and it's not as fun as just drawing. It's kind of like doing scales, and if you want to be good at piano, you want to be good at an instrument, you got to do scales. But at some point, you don't have to do them anymore. What it comes down to this is that it mostly feels like it mostly just feels kind of rote. But the amount that it sticks in your brain is so much heavier. When I go through this process, the duration of how long this visual information stays in my brain is for a much longer time, and the recall is a lot crisper, and the fidelity is a lot stronger. And I think ultimately that's the process to develop improving your aphantasia. I don't want to go to too much detail because there's a lot of ways to approach all this. One of the things is like what you learn and how you learn it is important. Like learning things in piecemeal. Like if you have a sketchbook filled with like just like limbs, but it's like that's all you ever have. All you ever have is like pieces of body parts, or you have like pages of faces. Inherently, the best case scenario is you do have a theme per page. The worst case scenario is you're drawing a face here, you're drawing a cup here, if you're going to draw a cup or a face, just put one cup on the page and give it a bit of time. Give it some attention, make it a whole image, and then say like this cup is, write something nice or funny. Make it an art piece. This idea of just sketching where you're going to put a bunch of various doodads on a screen, this is not helpful. This is something I just used to do. This is like the worst level of helpfulness, because you're allowing your ADHD, you're allowing your brain to wander so much. If you want to draw like a cup, or you want to draw individual elements, just put one on this page that's big enough to give it some detail and some effort. Make it a nice art piece, maybe a little postcard kind of vibe. Whatever. This is a better case than just a page full of nonsense. If you're going to draw a page full of stuff, theme it. Maybe it's going to be just, ancient clothing. So you're looking at designs and stuff, patterns. When you're done doing a sketch page, you should be able to close your eyes and kind of see, like move to the next page and close your eyes and be able to see what you drew on that page. You should be able to at least recall a little bit of what that page looks like. I think with something like this, you'll never be able to recall something like this. With something like this, you're in a better situation. So I'm just talking through a few little things here. Just as far as like conceptualizing, talking about memorization and visualizing and stuff, you want to avoid just a mishmash of stuff, because this is very hard to conceptualize. A thing I've been doing recently and thinking about is once I've done like every night before I go to bed, I try to like think about at least a few of the pages of sketches I did and like visualize them, and like literally the lines, not just visualize them, but like imagine, here's a silhouette, and imagine not just like a stylus going along the line, but like the tangent. I find that if I visualize a tangent that goes across the shape, I can really feel how curvy some parts are, because the tangent line will just go nuts. But I try to like imagine my pages, and I drew that day, and then visualize the information I had, because ultimately that's your ultimate test. Because remember, this is the thing. You can't recall this information even just in your mind. What you're doing when you're drawing on paper, you're not using your mind's eye. You're not using your ability to visualize. What you're doing is you're doing kind of like a reconstruction. You're not recalling, you're reconstructing the scene. And every time you reconstruct the scene, your chances of altering and worsening the reconstruction increase, okay? So if you can't visualize that information you drew, like let's say you spend a bunch of time drawing, heads in a certain way, and if you can't like clearly, crisply like draw a line in your mind of those things you learned, and then go on paper and then pretty confidently recreate that thing, the next day when you're drawing things similar to what you drew the day before, you're reconstructing, you're like doing like a crime scene investigation type of deal, okay? There's a very marked difference between literally being able to just recall and draw something with zero. Not only are you fully confident this is the right way to draw it, there's no resistance to that process, If you've so internalized that image in your mind that you're like, yeah, I know where all these parts go, and I know where all their relationships are, and I'm not going to screw it up because it's so like, if I close my eyes, I can see, and I can just trace what I see in my mind, then I can draw that. I think, and I think what people who are not only good draftsmen and good illustrators, but also have very strong ability to visualize, don't suffer from aphantasia. They have all the pieces in place to not only skillfully draw something, but reproduce something from their mind's eye. And I think people with aphantasia, and this is the argument I made for myself, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, is that this is not something that's inaccessible to me. It's just something that I don't have naturally. Some people can put on muscle mass very easily. They don't even try. Some people they don't have to do leg day because they've just got great legs. I posted a link in chat discussing some of the evidence that's come out recently where it's like the brain does all the process, it's just that the access to the visuals aren't there. And even in that report, it said like it's pretty new territory for researchers to discuss aphantasia. Like it's something that's just never been bothered to be looked into. Even from an art perspective, it's kind of not really touched on. It's discussed in a way where it's like, there's from what I found from my own research, there's literally like just one or two books that talk about it. And even those books refer to like 18th century, 19th century, like art schools sort of talking about it. For most artists, that have aphantasia, they eventually just use the canvas as their mind's eye. So they create a few techniques to either improve their speed and output to the point where the canvas becomes their mind's eye. No, sorry. I don't know why you linked that. I keep telling you, we're not crediting Proco with discovering aphantasia when I told you I just read a book from literally that was from artists from the 1800s talking about it. So no, I'm sorry. Proco isn't the end all be all of art learning. So the reality is that even if people are aware of it, there's no discussion beyond like a book, a dusty tome about how to improve it. So, and then there's the reality is, even then, the idea is that essentially there's a few components to all this aphantasia thing. So I'm going to talk about that kind of pretty quickly. So when you see the usual thing is people talk about this aspect, and picture an apple. I find this to be a very bad way of explaining this. And then, the apple gets more and more like detailed and colorful. And then you got like the hyper rendered apple, whatever, right? With the shading. When I think about visualizing and like the different ways you can visualize, like one of the things I do is like there's detail infilling. So for instance, let's say right now I talk to you guys about picturing a flame, right? Just close your eyes and picture a flame. So some people, what they'll do is, I just said a flame. So would they close their eyes and like their eyes are dark, but there's like this idea of a flame, Okay, maybe it's a little tiny flame, whatever. But it's still like everything's still very, very dark. Like it's still like in a dark void, and there's no light occupied. There's no brightness. None of this exists. It's just this. And then someone else will just have like fucking put a candle. You didn't ask them to put a candle, but they have put a candle in there. And maybe a table. They'll like have done extra work that wasn't asked. They'll infill detail you never even prompted them to do. But that'll just be there. They'll just close their eyes and they'll contextualize. They'll contextualize it. Maybe they'll just see like this, okay? Everything's still kind of dark at this point, right? But like, they'll have just done extra work without having been prompted. And then you ask yourself, like, and then there are people who will like just literally be able to contextualize. Not only that, they'll see like a whole room. Like they'll have seen where all this takes place. This is just like innately, they weren't asked to do this, but they closed their eyes and it kind of like, or maybe it was just like there's like holodeck lines, like you know what I mean? Like there's all this extra stuff. Their brain have like a very vivid approach to things and kind of do all this extra work, but still at this point it's dim. So it's important that you understand that the ability to visualize is more than just this, because there are people who, when you say picture a light, picture a flame, they can barely see the flame, but their vision is extremely bright. So you close your eyes and imagine you look up at the sunlight, and then the darkness of your lids covering your eyes becomes overwhelmed with the brightness of the light you're seeing. This is the kind of thing that is not discussed, and it is also a component of this. Yes, there's a detail, an ability to visualize from a detailed perspective in a dim way, where it's not very vivid. And then there are people who have very, very vivid, overwhelming ability to visualize, but they have very poor ability to kind of create scenes or put things in place or fill in details. So when you tell them to like imagine something, they see like the most purest components of those very clearly, very vividly, almost in an overwhelming kind of like taking over everything in their mind. So they kind of see something like this. This vividness, this is a thing that is inaccessible. All this stuff, being able to slowly build something up in your mind, but it being dim and nearly incapable of like grasped, totally possible to do this. I think this is what most artists do. But this, building up the ability to vividly see something to the point where it overwhelms the darkness of your eyelids to the point where it brightens up your photoreceptors, like literally like you feel like you're being sucked into the image. This is what's inaccessible, okay? This is what needs to be learned, or at least worked on, to improve. I don't know specifically how well that can be worked on. I know that this can be improved because I've done this. This seems way, way harder to improve. The ability to vividly kind of project into your mind's eye to the point where it's like you can like see the dappled light, you can see vivid colors. You're kind of almost like an overwhelming sense. And there's more to than just this. There's a combination of things, how this all fits together. So I think there is a misunderstanding what aphantasia is, and that it's not just the one skill bar. It's not just the one trait. I think aphantasia is a set of abilities present in your ability to visualize, between details and vividness and persistence, at least these three. There's probably a few more. And details is basically your ability to, like, I don't just see a candle, but I see, the wax and the type of candle holder, etc., in my mind. And then vividness is like I could see how bright that candle is, and I could see all the colors, and everything's overwhelming and breaks through the darkness of my eyes. And persistence is your ability to keep that visual information not only in your mind, but persistent to the point where you could continue closing your eyes and picking away at details until you can draw all of it. So you might have poor persistence where you're every time you look at it, it's like a new thing. And persistence is what really helps with concept art and being able to draw things from multiple angles. Point I'm making here, guys, is that it's not as simple as just saying, like, when I close my eyes I can't see anything, because that's not true. I have an experiment you can do with yourself, and it takes a while. You could usually kind of see it. Is you close your eyes, and then you pretend you're in a car. All right, when you're in a car when you're young or whatever, and there's like you're either under an underpass, or there's like lights that go by the window, and every time the light goes by the window, it brightens up your vision. Okay, with a bit of it trying and with a bit of effort and focus and like meditation, you could eventually literally slowly sense the darkness of your vision brighten with that experiment. Like, there's a point where it goes from you feeling it to you noticing it, and the second you notice it, it kind of goes away. The second you're aware of it happening, it kind of dissipates, but you can slowly build up that feeling of like the darkness of your eyelids weaken, and then there's a light. You can sense a light, you can feel that, you can almost see the light, and eventually you can actually see the light. The darkness does go away. That I've done. I have experienced that, and I think that's accessible, and I think that's the simplest way to kind of show that you can slowly build it, almost like a meditation.